Hey, welcome back. All right, so today I wanted to share with you 5 of my favorite thrift flip DIYs. All right, so this is just to show you what you can do with your old clothes in your closet, or if you find something cute at the thrift store, you can turn it into something brand new. I'm going to be starting out with this one. This one is kind of one of my favorites. That's why I picked it, because it was just one simple skirt that I was able to turn into a whole dress, a rather long style dress too, for the size of the skirt. I didn't use any additional fabric or anything like that. So I thought this was a great one to start out with. For this one, I just took apart the extra ruffles that were on the skirt, and I had to open up the seams in order to do so because they were sewn in there. But I had kept the waistband basically intact so that it was easier to put back together, because I'm using the waistband at the top. If the waistband fits your bust, that's awesome, because it makes it easier to have the closure and stuff, because this did have a zipper on it, so it made it simpler. So once I took everything apart, I had opened up the seams like I said. I just closed them back up, and then you can reattach the waistband so that you have, that complete piece there. So it's real simple to do. If you just open it back up, you just sandwich it back in basically, and you just line the seams back up. Because I didn't cut it or anything like that, I used a seam ripper. Everything was basically still intact, and it just needed a straight stitch down. Now I'm working with the extra ruffles. I'm going to attach them to the bottom to give it that extra length, because I am turning it into a dress. They are uneven, so that doesn't matter though. You can leave it uneven and have like an asymmetrical type look, or you can cut it straight. But there's so many different things you can do with this project. So I just lined up the bottom of the skirt piece to the top of the ruffle pieces there, and this is how it was looking, and it really was way longer than I thought it would be. So I didn't want it that long, so I was like, okay, let's cinch the waist to give it a nice shape, because with the straight up and down, it didn't really have a good shape. So you're just going to want to measure down how long you want it, and give it that extra so that it can floof, if you know what I'm saying, because you don't want it just hugging straight and tight. You want it kind of to pull over. And then I decided to straighten up the hem there, because it was asymmetrical. Asymmetrical is cute, but it was like a big difference in the sides. So I just straightened that up, and then you can go ahead and you can hem it, which is real simple. You just fold it over again if you want. You can use a serger. There's so many different ways you can do it, but it's real simple. And attaching the waistband was real simple too. Just a zigzag with the elastic in the side. And then I decided I wanted to add some straps. So you're going to measure those straps out. You're going to sew them together inside out, and then pull them, turn them, and then attach them. And then this is what you will have. So I hope this gave you some great inspiration on what you can do with your old skirts. So if you find a skirt in a thrift store, like I said, this was one of my favorites. Let me know what you thought. All right, so now on to this one. This one was an inspiration that I had seen on another flipper's page. She had turned a pair of leather pants into a handbag, and I was like, hey, I got some faux leather pants too. Let me give that a try. I did mine a little bit different, a lot of bit different, because I wanted to keep the pockets, because I liked the way that looked. So I was just playing around with it and came up with this. So like I cut open the inseam of the pants, and then I'm just putting them face to face. And then, I want to straighten it out and get rid of that crotch part, because you don't need that in your bag. You're going to measure down how big you want your purse to be, like how deep you want it in. This is without the handles, because of the way that I'm doing it. The handles aren't attached yet. So this is just going to be the main part of the purse. Sewed it together straight across. So the sides were down where the crotch was going straight. And then the bottom part, you can tuck in the bottom to give it like, a real official purse type look. You're going to do that. And then I'm using the bottom of the pant leg to make the handles. So it's real simple. If you cut this into one piece, it would be even simpler, because that's the traditional way to do it. But I was using the pants, so I did it this way. All right, so I made a little, kind of like a pant leg, right? Kind of like another pant leg there, but it's not. It's just to go around the top. It's matching it up so that everything is even. So I'm matching up side seam to side seam. So you're going to kind of make sure the measurements are the same if you're doing it this way and not cutting it into one piece. And then it'll look something like this. And at that point too, you can tuck in the bottom piece of the purse to make sure that it has that little purse shape, if you know what I mean. So then now I'm going to work on the handle part. So I'm tucking in the bottom, like I said there, and you just sew it straight across, like kind of like a triangle type thing. You don't have to do that part, but it gives it, like I said, the bag shape, because you want it to look like a bag. Then I'm just working, like I said, on the handle part. I'm just lining them up, making sure they're even, so I could just kind of do it in a single cut, and then just going to come down and like a swoop. But I'm just eyeballing it. You can do it more official, but I'm just eyeballing it. And you can see where I sewed the top of the thing together so that it's an actual handle. So you don't have to worry about holding it because it's an actual handle right now. You want to make sure your side seams are open so that you can, grab it. So I'm cutting those. I had sewed it all up. I did like a little bit of extra work in this. I'm going to show you at the end a more simpler way to do it. But like I said, it was my first time doing it, so I was playing around with it to see. And with all my projects, I just play around with them to see. And that's the fun part. If it's something that you had no intention on using again, like an old pair of pants that you were just done with and you were not wearing anymore, then it's either you were going to trash them or, make something brand new out of it. So you can play around with it and figure out what you want to do with it as you go along. And then the more you do that, the more you'll learn. But this is how it's looking so far. So we have the handles. We cut out the hoop there. And then I was like, I didn't like that line across. So I was like, all right, let me add a zipper so that it has a pop and I can cover up that line, because that line was, driving me a little crazy. So I opened it up and then attach the zipper. I didn't attach an invisible zipper, a regular zipper, so that you can see the feet of the zipper and all that and stuff, and then close it up. And I thought that helped it look a little better and less pieced together than it was with that big seam going there, because in a regular purse, like I said, you would have one straight piece. You wouldn't cut it the way that I did. So this is just to show you how it would look if you did it simpler. So it's one long piece of fabric that you would have there. You would cut out the hoop, like the swoopy part for the handles, and then sew everything up. So it would just be one, you know what I'm saying? It would be real simple, real quick. But like I said, it was my first time. I played around with it, saw how I liked it, and, pieced it together. And I wanted to keep the zippers for the pockets. But you see how much simpler that is? And if you didn't have a piece of fabric that was long enough, you could sew it together like I did these pieces here. But that would be the simpler way. You come down to where you want the handles to stop. You sew it up. You can do the little bottom piece if you want it. This one has more of a curve because the way that I cut it. But you can do it either way. And it's quick, simple, and easy. Okay, now for this one. This one was another one that I really did enjoy. This one I added extra fabric to it, but it was a shirt that I had that I thought was cute. So I just cut it cropped just to fit right underneath the boobs. Folded up that, added some elastic, just the size of the under the boob part. So you just measure that out. Cut your elastic to that size and then just feed it through. And that's that. And then you have a cute little crop top. No fuss, no muss. And then I went on to the bottom part, which is going to be the skirt. So it could be a matching two-piece set because I love a good set. So now I had that. So I wanted to see how much longer I wanted it. You can, just was showing you, you can make it kind of like another type shirt, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make it a 2-piece set. So I got this like satin-like fabric. I didn't want the shiny side on the outside, but so I used the inside part because I didn't want it to be too, shiny. So I measured up, and it's just a plain, simple skirt, no big, to do about it, what have you and stuff. It's going to have an elastic waist, so you don't have to worry about a zipper or anything like that. So it's real simple. This is just a bunch of cutting straight lines and elastic. I measured it out to be about the same width of this. You want to make sure you cover your hips. That's what you want to make sure you do, because you want to be able to get it on and off. Your hips are the main important part. So that's what you want to make sure you're worried about. I sewed it straight down on the sides, then turned it right side to right side, matched up the bottom, sewed that straight across, and then like basically the skirt is like coming together. It's almost done. You're almost ready to go. All right, so once that was done, then I just went to the top, added the elastic the same way you add the elastic to the top. You have your shirt, you have your bottom, and this is it. All right, this is another one that I love. This one, when I did this one, there was so many different things you could do. You can make a jumpsuit. You can make a 2-piece set. You can make a romper, not a jumpsuit, a romper. A romper, a 2-piece set. I could have made it into like a little mini dress, whatever and stuff. But this is the way I went. But there's like so many different ways you could have did it. They did have a lot of slashes in it, so it's not a lot of fabric. The front had to stay how the front was. So I just cut the bottom to the shorts to the length that I wanted them to be, and then I'm going to use the bottom of the pant leg to make the rest of it. I'm just making kind of a halter crop top thing, what have you and stuff, and I'm using the solid part of the pant leg, which is the back part of the pant leg, and I cut off the sides and the cuff. I saved those pieces. I'm always saving pieces too. Even if you're not going to use them in the project, maybe you could use it for something else later on. But anyway, once I got the 2 back pieces, which were the solid pieces without the cuts, I just lapped them over each other, kind of giving it like a little V, figuring out where I wanted to come down at, marking that so that I can have, the look that I wanted, because it's going to be an open back top, because we're not working with a lot of fabric here, because most of it is being used for the bottom part for the shorts, and that's fine. We're just using these pieces right here. So once you have that, and you're going to want to make sure too, when you're doing this, that you're going to cover, the front part of you, because that's the main part you want to cover. If you're in the side boob, you don't got to worry about covering the whole front part of you, but you want to try to cover as much of the front part of you as possible. I sewed that together, sewed down the inside, just folded it over. I did nothing fancy on it. And then I was playing around with it to see how I wanted to do it. I was like, do I want to use the cuffs to cinch it in there, because it already has the elastic to it? But like I said, you can play around with it and do it however you want. I was like, do I want to use the cuffs to close up the back part? Like I said, everything I do, I'm just doing it on a cuff. I start cutting stuff. I have no idea what I want to do with it when I start cutting it. I'm just like looking at it and I'm like, okay, today I'm going to make this into whatever. So that's the fun part about doing a thrift flip or reusing something. You're just doing it the way that you want to do it. It's like no rhyme or reason to it. So it makes it real simple. All right. So that's me. Like I said, playing around with it, trying to figure out how I wanted to finish this, because it has to connect in some way in the back and it has to stay closed. So that was the main thing that I was trying to focus on. So I folded over the top. You could also add strings in the top right there if you leave the sides open, pull those through. It's so many different ways that you can close this up, other than the way that I ended up doing it too. You don't have to do it the way that I did it. There's so many different ways. Now, I played around with this concept for a while, like I said, trying to figure out how I wanted to close it. I was like, okay, now it's a halter. Just trying to figure it out without having to use anything extra. I just wanted to use what was already there. So once I decided I wanted to do that, then I needed to cut it even kind of closer, because you didn't want that big flappy piece there. That would have made no sense. So I cut those. But again, you want to make sure you're still covering your boobs when you're doing it, because you don't want, that extra. Took the little extra that I did have to make an extra closure, because if I'm using the elastic part for the neckline, there's no way to close it up in the back, and it can't just be flapping open everywhere. So I needed to close up the back. So I took what wasn't shredded of the front part of the leg that was left over to make ties to, close it up. And you just make them like you make any loop ties. You sew it, pull it, all of that. And then you can just attach it to the side. I folded down all the seams. I serged them. You don't have to serge if you don't have a serger. You can just fold over. You can double fold over. You can do it however you want. Attached my little loops that I had there once I turned them out to close it up. You can do this, like I said, so many times, so many different ways. You can do this hem two different ways. You can fray it, leave it raw. You can fold it up, do it that way, have it neat. It doesn't really matter. This is how it looks cropped. You can unfold it. Now it is uncropped. You could have attached it and made a romper. You could do so many different things with this. With one pair of pants, you can turn it into so many different things. Okay, now for this one. This one was, do I want to say my fave? I don't know. I liked it. It was simple. It was easy. It was, I think, one of my first thrift flips that I did on the channel. But I did love the way that it turned out. And it was so me, because it's like a simple dress. And it had a shape without having a shape, But I loved it simple. And you could just do this with regular fabric, too, if you want. But I opened up the pant legs. I'm always trying to save as much as possible. So I try not to cut if I can avoid cutting. This one too, I saved the waistband because I don't know, I might need a waistband for something. And this one is almost done. So I try to save every piece that I can when I'm taking things apart, because you never know when you might need it. And even if you don't use the waistband itself on the project, it helps you to understand how things are put together if you can see how something is put together. So saving things so you have as a reference sometimes is helpful, like saving an arm so you can have it as an arm pattern. All kind of different things you can do to just keep those. But anyway, I took apart the side seams, like I said, of all the pieces. Then I have all my pieces, laid them out, and then started piecing it together. Real simple. This one had the cute little pockets on the back that I did utilize for the dress itself. Gave it another little detail, which I thought was cute and simple. Of course, we're going to be cutting away the crotch part there. But first, I'm just lining up the pieces, because it's really just, how do I explain it? It's really just going to be two long pieces. Like if you were to do this with regular fabric, it would really just be two long pieces of fabric that you put together in the front. In the back, you found the shoulder seam. It's real basic. It's real simple. So anyway, I measured to where I wanted it to hit, if you know what I mean. So just, you want a straight line, because like I said, it's just two straight pieces of fabric that you lined up. So I'm sewing away the crotch part. I didn't quite cut it yet because I want to make sure that I have enough fabric at the end of it. And I'm always weary about, if I cut it and I need to go back, you can't add the fabric back, without it looking patchy. So it's better to just sew it in, and then you can cut it later, serge it up, clean it up, do whatever you want to it later. But that's that. And then I measured down, like I said, where I wanted it to begin. So for the bust, that's the bust line. This is like mid shoulder where it's beginning right there. So you have like a V neckline, but then you got to think about, I'm adding in for the top part of the shoulder also. I don't know if that's making sense. But that's not the shoulder. That's not the mid shoulder. That's just the top part. So this piece that I'm adding on from the other pant leg is going to be the top part of the shoulder, because the way it lays, because I don't want the pockets to fall on the shoulder. I want them to fall, around the bust area. So I'm stealing some from the back pant leg to the front pant leg. So that's why I measured that out, whatever measure. Now you're lining up the front with the back, and then you're going to basically do the same kind of thing in the back, where you're just going to see where you're coming down to. And this is real simple. You just want to be able to get your head in and out. So you want to be able to get the top part of your body in and out, and your arms in and out comfortably. So you want enough space for that. So you know how when you pull on a sweater, if it's not like a knit shirt that has, a give to it and stuff, then you're going to need a bigger opening so that you can get in and out of it, because it doesn't have a zipper or anything like that. So that's really, you just want to make sure that you have enough space to get in and out. You want to measure down for the armholes so that they're not too snug, because like I said, it's a pull on and there's no stretch to it. There's no give to it. So you don't want anything to be too snug, too tight, but you're going to see where you want the shoulders to fall, measure that, and then from there you're going to measure down to where you want the back opening to begin or end at. So I hope everybody's following along with me. You want, because I took from the back. Okay, I feel like I'm over explaining it. You got it. So once I figured all that out, then I just did the same thing kind of that I did with the front. You're going to piece it together, line up those pieces. So now you have your front, you have your back, you have your shoulder seams lined up to where you want those to be. And then you're going to sew it all together, just a straight stitch. Cut off your hem. And then for the arms, like I said, you're going to measure those down a good length so that you can get in and out without it being too snug. So from your shoulder down to a little bit, a couple inches, like an inch or two below your armpit, so that you have that big opening there. Measure down how long you want the whole thing to be at the end, because when you lay your two pieces out, so how long you want it to be. You're not going to have that many options because it's a pant leg and you got to worry about the crotch on the end and stuff like that. But measure all that out, mark all that, sew it up, cut it up, do your hems, all that good stuff. So this is it. This is how it is. And it looks cute like this. It looks cute belted too. So that's basically it. It was just a bunch of straight lines. Once you have it on, you make sure it fits good. You can finish off your arms and make sure everything is nice and tacked down. You can top stitch around the front if you want. You can even add, if you wanted to, some type of embellishment right there in the seams, but I didn't want mine too jazzy. So just real simple, finishing up the arms. And then, like I said, you can wear this plain like this. You can also dart it too if you want it real nice and shaped around me. But I wanted to make sure to be able to get in and out, no issues, no fuss, no muss. But it's a real simple project. And like I said, if you want to do it with just regular fabric, it's just 2 long pieces wide enough to cover the front. So you can just drape 2 long pieces of fabric over each shoulder, pin down at the bust where you want it, pin down in the back where you want it, pin down in the underarms, and this is how it'll come out, except for the pockets. You won't have the pockets. It's a real simple, and then you can belt it and go on your way. Okay, so that was it. Let me know what you thought, and I will see you in the next one.